Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Laurie, and I'm a political officer here at the U.S.Embassy in Algiers. I will be co-hosting this panel today on inclusion in sports with my diplomatic colleague from the Canadian Embassy, Matthew. Matthew, ça va?
Hi, Laurie. Hi, everyone. My name is Mathieu. I'm the political counselor at the Canadian Embassy here in Algeria. I am delighted to be here for a very interesting panel, and I welcome you all to our discussion on inclusion in sports.
Yes, welcome, everyone. So right now you might be asking why we're discussing sports inclusion today. And the answer is that it is the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. And this presents an opportunity to recognize the role that sports and physical activity plays in communities and in people's lives throughout the world. It's a very important thing that we can use to connect with each other, and then also something that we can use to relate to each other.
But it's also a good opportunity to talk about inclusion in sports more broadly and the steps that we as a global community can take to make others feel more included. In February, some of you have been invited to the screening of the film Willie, about Willie O'Ree, the first Black player to play in the NHL, the National Hockey League, and the challenges he faced because of his race. This event was co-hosted by the U.S. Embassy in Algeria and ourselves, the Canadian Embassy in Algeria.
So today we'll be talking about how we can all play our part to encourage everyone, regardless of race, gender, disability status, or class, about how to be involved in team sports. So we have a great panel here for you today. First, from our representative from the NHL, retired ice hockey goaltender Al Montoya.
We also have Sarah Lemredebi, a Deputy Director of Major Sports and Competition Systems at the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Algeria.
And then we have Hichem Benayad Cherif, who leads the U.S. Embassy's primary sports diplomacy program, Elite Student Athlete Academy, formerly called Bucket and a Dream.
We then have Karim Kerbouche, President of Hockey Algeria.
And finally, last but certainly not least, we have Samy Doucene. He is a representative from the Association Sportive de Handicapes Moteurs. And we'd love to get to know our panelists a little bit more. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to hear from each of them for about 2 minutes on what their organization does in the field of sports inclusion. And would also like to welcome your ideas on what we think sports inclusion means. So first, we'll go to Sarah from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Sarah?
Hello. Donc, je vais présenter mon intervention en français, si ça vous va.
Bien sûr.
Bien sûr. Donc, bonjour à tout le monde. Je me présente, c'est Sarah Lemredebi, sous-directrice des grands événements et systèmes de compétition au niveau du ministère de la Jeunesse et des Sports. Donc, je vais parler très brièvement. Donc, comme vous savez, le sport apporte une contribution positive à la société. Il favorise le respect mutuel, la tolérance et la compréhension en réunissant les hommes et les femmes, quel que soit leur âge, quelle que soit l'origine ethnique, leur religion et leurs conditions sociales. Bien encadrer des activités sportives peuvent ainsi être un moyen de lutte contre la discrimination, les préjudices et les stéréotypes. Donc, d'une manière générale, le ministère de la Jeunesse et des Sports contribue fortement pour le développement du sport et la massification de la pratique sportive sur le territoire national en véhiculant les meilleures présentations, que ce soit sur le plan national ou bien à l'international. En organisant les grands événements, ça donne toujours un bon contact entre notre jeunesse et le monde entier. C'est-à-dire, prochainement, l'Algérie va abriter de grands événements de qualité. Par exemple, les Jeux méditerranéens qui vont être organisés, Inch'Allah, au Oran 2022. Il y aura aussi de nombreux événements tels que les championnats d'Afrique d'athlétisme qualificatif aux Jeux olympiques et autres. Donc, l'Algérie a l'habitude d'organiser de grands événements qui donnent l'occasion aussi à nos jeunes de confronter de meilleurs niveaux et connaître d'autres athlètes de haut niveau. Par le biais de la formation aussi, le ministère de la Jeunesse et des Sports s'occupe aussi de l'aspect formation en donnant l'opportunité à nos jeunes athlètes de s'encadrer dans le sport et leur donner de possibilités d'intégrer des fonctions, c'est-à-dire après leur carrière sportive. Ça, c'est garanti par la réglementation en vigueur. Donc, on fait, c'est-à-dire le sportif de haut niveau a la possibilité d'intégrer la fonction publique par une fonction d'entraîneur ou bien encadreur dans l'administration sportive. C'est aussi pour la jeune féminine, comme je disais aussi. Donc, il n'y a pas de discrimination entre hommes et femmes dans le sport en Algérie. Donc, on donne l'occasion aux femmes d'occuper des postes de responsabilité. Je cite l'exemple de l'installation du secrétariat d'État, qui est à la tête du sport d'élite et au haut niveau. À la tête, Madame Salima Souakri, ancienne athlète judokate, qui est à la tête, qui gère cette structure, qui encadre le sport de haut niveau d'une manière très spécifique. Aussi, on parle de sport d'handicapés. Aussi, les sportifs handicapés ont leur place, ont un statut comme eux, comme les sportifs valides. Donc, il n'y a pas de discrimination là-dessus. Et là, on est toujours présent, on essaye de donner une contribution pour le sport d'une manière générale à tous les niveaux, que ce soit au niveau national ou bien à l'international. Nos sportifs d'élite qui vont, Inch'Allah, nous représenter le pays à l'échelle internationale et aux grands événements tels que les Jeux olympiques, ils sont très bien pris en charge. Ils ont tous les moyens en place pour une bonne préparation, une bonne continuation pour leur compétition.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah. Thank you. Let's now go to Al Montoya. Al, we'd love to hear about your experiences as a young athlete growing up and making it big time, and the challenges you faced, if any, that show the importance of inclusion in sports.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Lori, for this opportunity. What a fantastic panel to be a part of. A little background on myself. My mother and my grandparents were Cuban refugees that came to this country in 1963 after the Bay of Pigs. My father, as well, is a Colombian immigrant. I was raised in a single family household, raised by my grandparents and my mother. At a young age, sports played a huge role. At 17, I was at the University of Michigan on a scholarship playing hockey. At 19, I helped the United States win their first ever gold medal at the World Junior Championships. In 2004, I was drafted by the New York Rangers, 6th overall, then becoming the first Cuban American to ever be drafted in the National Hockey League, and then eventually going on to play. I spent, I think it was the better part of 14 years playing professional hockey, and now I am here after a few years of retiring. And the way sports, I have a couple stories that were formative in my life on how I was included or excluded. The inclusion story, when I was about 8 years old, and I'm at parent-teacher conference at my school, and I'm sitting in the corner, my mom's talking to the teacher. And you got to understand, she looks at my mom with concern, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And she starts telling this, she tells my mother, "Excuse me, Dr. Silva, I'm concerned for your son that he doesn't speak." And my mom looks at me and kind of shrieks, but I think it's followed with laughter. She goes, "Excuse me, he speaks 2 languages." And they go on to explain that my first language was Spanish. So in the house, I got it. The second I left, I stepped into this culture shock, this world that wasn't mine. But we follow that up with, I go to hockey practice after going to school or going to my conference, and it's my equalizer. Sports allows me to be creative, allows me to move without judgment. And that was a day for me that I really realized what sports was my catalyst to to be part of this community, included in it. And then there's the flip side of it. Like I said, I was raised in a single parent household. So for me, I really relied on that community to get me to and from where I needed to go. Without them, I wouldn't have played hockey. I wouldn't have gone to this beautiful university. So I'm 10 years old and I'm sitting on my doorstep waiting for my neighborhood carpool to pick me up for basketball practice. But the mom left me behind. Why? She resented the fact that my mom couldn't help in the community carpool. I think at that moment I learned, maybe not exactly at the moment, after a few tears, I think afterwards I learned to appreciate those people that did help and did make those sacrifices, whether it was my mom who gave up everything or my grandparents to come to this country, or whether it was my neighbors that drove me to practices. Sports played a massive role in helping me assimilate to this country and also in becoming the person I am today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, Al. I think that that's a very powerful anecdote about how inclusion in sports could help people really come together. So I'd like to ask Hichem to hear a little bit more about the initiatives that he had promoting basketball and sports scholarships all around the country of Algeria, where most of us are right now.
Yes, well, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about the program. And also, yes, I really want to talk about the program, but especially why this came up in Algeria. So me growing up, I lived in Montreal, born in Algeria, lived in Montreal with my family. My father and mom sacrificed everything for us to come to Canada and go to school there. And then I had the opportunity to receive a scholarship to go play for the University of IPFW, Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne, full ride NCAA D1. And the exclusion that happened with me is the language barrier. And that's why El Montoya just talked about it. And it's pretty, it was the same for me. I was concerned because I didn't know any English. And why sports helped me a lot, my teammates were giving me advices how to do my my tests and everything, you know, how to do all my technically everything, how to do it, because I didn't know how to speak English at all. 2010, so that was pretty rough. At 20 years old, I didn't know any English until I arrived to the university and I start technically talking with them and everything. So they helped me a lot. Then I realized with sport that education is key first. So education is number one. After you can go to, you know, to do your sport and be all into it. So then I had the opportunity to play for the national team, the Algerian national team, and this is where everything started. I realized a lot of kids had the opportunity and talent, but didn't have the exposure. And this was key for Algeria. The exposure is key, and the talent is everywhere. We had in the past, we had a lot of camps that we've done. So the program is to have different camps in different regions of Algeria and give equal opportunity to girls and boys into the camp. So we had 60 kids in the weekend, everything taken care of, and a big thanks to the U.S.Embassy for their support and sponsorship, and as well as the Ministry of Youth and Sport that given us all the platforms to do so. So I have, like you said, Laurie, I have some experiences that really touched my heart in those camps, and I had to say it because I will never forget what happened. So the players comes to Ouargla. We went to Ouargla to do a camp, and a lot of kids come very excited, and they all want to be part of the program and everything. So we start doing the camp, and we realized some guys were missing after the second day. So we were thinking, what's going on? They should be on the list, and they're not coming to the second day. And then we talked a little bit with the officers there, and they said, well, this guy had to go to work because he needs to provide for his mother, and he's only 16. So we said, oh, wow. So then we were just like kind of shocked, but at the same time, we totally understand. So we were waiting for him to come the next day, and especially me, because I needed to know a little bit about him. And he said, well, unfortunately, his father died a long time ago, so he had to go to work to help his mom. And I got very it touched me, you know, it touched me a lot, because you say that guy has a lot of potential, and he had a lot of potential big time on the court. And he needs to help his family. So first of all, with sport, you realize that family is very important. Education, of course, and also your sport. So he stopped going to high school. He stopped completely going to high school just because he had to go to work. And because of the camps, his big brother, that he needed to take care of his own family, told me, you guys just changed the way he thinks about life. He went back to school after the camp. He went back to school, and he wanted to help his mother as well. And so he changed his mind of an opportunity. It's a special feeling because we brought an opportunity to someone that didn't know it was possible in the south of Algeria. So we realized the opportunity we can have in the program to just build a big platform for them to have hope, to get back to school, because we teach what's most important. It is school. And also the accomplishment of having everybody's happy and everybody together in the program and the camp, obviously. Yeah, so I think that the key to all this is to give hope, for sure, to get the kids out of the streets and put them back to school, all together with sport. It's a win-win for everybody, for the country, for the families. So I think we can bring even more to the country, and hopefully we can do it in the future. Yep. So thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Hichem. Now we go to Karim Kerbouche to hear more about hockey in Algeria. Now, full disclosure, when I arrived in Algeria, I had no clue about hockey in Algeria. And fairly quickly after I arrived, I discovered Hockey Algeria and Karim. So please, I mean, we very much want to hear from you, from your perspective.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure to be here. So our organization, Hockey Algeria, our goal is to introduce the sport of ice hockey to Algeria. For the people watching who don't know much about ice hockey. Ice hockey is a sport that it's generally considered a winter sport. Very popular in North America, popular in Scandinavia, popular in Russia, Eastern Europe. And in these countries, it rivals football or soccer. It's as popular as football. So our goal is to introduce it to Algeria and grow the sport in Algeria. And I mean, we're in quite a unique situation in Algeria where it's a new sport. So we can include everyone while we're building it. So it's not a situation where I think in more established hockey countries where the sport for the men has been concentrated on for many years, and now the game for the girls and the sport for disabilities is trying to catch up. In Algeria, we have a unique position of we can all start together and grow the girls' game, the boys' game, disability, all at the same time. So for us, a big focus is on introducing the sport to girls. I've spent some time in the Gulf regions, and they focus a lot on the girls' hockey in UAE and Kuwait. And we are actually members of the International Ice Hockey Federation. So we're the third African nation in the International Ice Hockey Federation. South Africa came first, Morocco after that, and we're the third member. And we do spend a lot of time on conference calls and meetings with the International Ice Hockey Federation. And a big focus for the International Ice Hockey Federation is girls hockey. They expect us to put a lot into girls hockey, and we're happy to do so. We have a good group of players and coaches who have learnt the game in Canada, Sweden. Myself, I've learnt to play in the UK. I started as a kid playing in the UK. I've played in the English National League. I've now done my coaching qualifications. I've done disability coaching qualifications. So I'm ready to use my experience that I've gained in the UK and in other countries, along with some of my colleagues who are also very experienced and have played professionally. And we're just waiting for the borders to open again so we can get back to Algeria and start coaching. For anyone who doesn't know, we do have one rink at the moment in Algeria, and this is a small rink in the city of Sétif in Parkma. It's a very small rink, but it is still the quality of ice. I've skated on it, I've played on it a little bit, and the quality of ice is good, surprisingly. And it's perfect for kids to try it out, try skating, try playing ice hockey for the first time. Boys, girls, we welcome everyone. And prior to COVID, I did have a meeting with the Ministry of Sport, and the aim was to open a hockey school in Sétif, and we were discussing that with the owners of the mall. And it was all very positive until COVID happened, and then it's basically put a pause on everything, and all the staff are stuck in whichever country they live in, and it's just put a pause on everything. But we're eager to come back to Algeria and start working on the project again.
Thank you so much for that. That's incredibly interesting. Like Matthew, I really didn't know that there was a hockey program here, and I am happy that there is, because if I'm living here, I like to be able to see the things that I enjoy. I like to see the people that I live with and work with enjoy the same things that I do. So that's fantastic. And so now, finally, last but certainly not least, we will go to Samy Doucene from the Association Sportive des Handicapes Moteurs. Mr. Doucene?
He's muted.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Mr. Doucene, can you share some experiences related to
Bonsoir.
the top? Please.
Vous m'écoutez?
Oui, on vous entend. On vous entend.
Bon,
on vous entend très bien.
Je suis Doucene Samy, président d'un grand club de basket handicapé en Algérie, à Boufarik, ma ville. Nous sommes une grande équipe au niveau national et international. Nous possédons des joueurs qui participent avec l'élite nationale aux championnats du monde et aux Jeux olympiques. Bon, le basket pour handicapés, c'est le basket roi en général dans le monde. Nous faisons tout, surtout sur le plan social. Le sport les aide surtout sur le plan social. Donc, nous avons des joueurs qui participent aux grands événements internationaux, et notre équipe fait beaucoup pour que ces joueurs fassent des résultats, et on travaille surtout pour les aider sur le plan social. Vous savez que nous, le grand handicap, c'est le matériel sportif. Par exemple, les fauteuils roulants de basket, c'est des fauteuils qui coûtent très cher. Un fauteuil roulant de basket d'handicapé de haut niveau coûte 7 000 €. Donc, il faut vraiment des budgets. Et notre souhait, c'est d'avoir des sponsors pour qu'on puisse encore développer ce sport au niveau national. Voilà en gros nos ambitions. Si vous avez d'autres questions à nous poser.
Merci beaucoup, Samy. Très intéressant. Now we're going to have a few...
Et on souhaite aussi avoir des relations d'amitié sportives et culturelles, par exemple avec le Canada, les États-Unis, pour en quelque sorte évaluer notre niveau. Ça, c'est nos grands souhaits.
Super, merci beaucoup. Now we're going to have a few more questions and open up the discussions to the public. But I'll crack in a few questions. First question, and it's obvious question, very 2021 question, of course. How has, and Karim, you've touched on it a bit, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your activities and made things, a bit more complex for everyone? But we'd like to hear more a bit of how it has impacted your work on inclusion in sports and on inclusion in sports in general. So I'll give everyone a chance to weigh in. Et je vais peut-être commencer par Sarah. Donc Sarah, un peu, de quelle façon la pandémie a eu un impact sur les activités du ministère et sur ses efforts pour amener le sport justement au plus grand nombre d'Algériens et de la jeunesse algérienne?
C'est difficile.
Je m'excuse, Sarah, je crois que vous êtes encore en mode silence.
Pardon. Bon, je disais, merci Mathieu. Pardon. Donc, je disais que la pandémie a des effets très... Parce que là, je suis au bureau, il y a le DG qui m'appelle aussi. Donc, je disais que la pandémie a eu des effets très négatifs sur le sport d'une manière générale et spécialement sur la santé. Bon, je dirais personnellement, je suis athlète, donc ça m'a vraiment affectée. Déjà, on a gagné du poids aussi. Durant cette période, on ne pouvait pas s'entraîner normalement avec nos clubs. Comme vous savez, toutes les salles sportives, les salles OMS ont été fermées pour des mesures sécuritaires et de santé. Donc, il n'y avait pas même il y avait les horaires de confinement où on ne pouvait même pas faire de footing dehors. Donc, on était obligé de s'entraîner chez soi. Ça. Et d'une manière générale, pour le sport en Algérie, il y a eu des perturbations, surtout sur la préparation des sportifs. Il y a eu le report de certaines compétitions de référence qui permettaient aux athlètes de se qualifier aux Jeux Olympiques. Donc, ça a eu beaucoup de problèmes. Même actuellement, nous avons des problèmes par rapport aux frontières qui sont fermées, c'est-à-dire la difficulté pour le va-et-vient et le déplacement des sportifs pour participer à leur stage ou bien à leur compétition. Il y a des procédures énormes pour faciliter l'entrée et la sortie. Là, en ce moment-là, on prépare aussi de grands événements et nous trouvons de difficultés immenses, que ce soit sur le plan administratif ou bien sur le plan technique et sur terrain aussi. Donc, la pandémie a fait un ravage sur le sport. Et j'espère que ça ne va pas durer, Inch'Allah.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah. Al, do you want to jump in, maybe add from your perspective, how have you seen COVID and its impact on sports and inclusion?
Yes, thank you, Matthew. Other than the obvious that it's really had to shut down and think outside the box. For myself, it's given me the opportunity to be on panels like this that I normally wouldn't be on, or whether it's with the NHL, what the NHL has done under the guidance of the executive vice president there, or Kim Davis or Commissioner Gary Bettman, and growing the game. They formed committees to grow the game, to diversify the game, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because we want to grow this fantastic game of hockey that we all love so much. So it's given us this opportunity to sit down in front of executives and discuss and find different avenues to grow the game. And like we've all spoken on here, whether it's women, men, LGBT, disability, this game is for everyone. And this time more than ever right now is a time for all of us to come together and grow.
Thanks, Al. Very interesting. So there's definitely some challenges, as Sarah mentioned, but also some opportunities to force us to think outside the box. Hichem, anything from your perspective? I'm sure there's something from her perspective, but please share with us.
Yes, definitely. Well, for us, Elite Student Athlete Academy, for us, the most important thing is interaction with the youth by doing camps. And we're targeting basketball, yes, but we're targeting even more other disciplines. And we were on the roll to do the schedule for 2020, but the pandemic slowed us down a lot. We had the opportunity to do the last camp on March 15, 2020. But then what happened is COVID just stopped everything, and we couldn't do all the camps and the programmation we had to do during the year. So this affected a lot, but we had another way to see the approach with the kids. So we had virtual programs, virtual messages to share with the kids throughout the platforms, just to keep them in shape and also keep them in check with their nutrition. Because like Madame Laralbi said, you guys are top athletes, so you have to make sure that your diet is good, while at the same time, if you don't have another space, you can do some little, some little exercise at home. So I would say that it impacted, but it gives us a different vision on how to approach the youth and the kids. And I think hopefully soon it will be all over, and we'll be able to do all the camps and all the new look we have for the program and for the youth in Algeria.
Merci beaucoup, Hichem. Karim, you've touched it briefly in your first intervention about the challenges of the pandemic. You mentioned closed border, the inability to come down here in Algeria and grow a sport. It must be especially a challenge, when you're trying to grow a young sport, a brand new sport in Algeria, where you don't want to lose the momentum of what you're building. So can you expand a bit on that?
Exactly. That's been the problem. So we became members of the International Ice Hockey Federation in the end of September in 2019. And then I went to spend some time in Kuwait in February 2020 to work on some hockey projects with the Arab nations. And shortly after that, everything shut down all across the world. So I returned to London. The borders closed in Algeria. So, activity basically paused, it ceased. And not only could the organizers behind the sport and the coaches were stuck in whichever country they're in, but the ice rink was closed in Sétif as well. So same to all around the world. It happened in Canada. It's happened in the UK as well. The ice rinks closed. It was considered quite a dangerous area for the pandemic ice rinks, I guess, for the close contact of team sports, and also because of the cold, I guess, is considered quite high risk. So the ice rink closed in Sétif. It's open again now. By the time, the few people we do have based in Algeria, they weren't even able to get on ice. So it basically took all the momentum away from becoming members and having some good communication with the Ministry of Sport to then basically zero. But it's not been all negative. It's been mostly negative, but not all negative. It's allowed me to, with this new Zoom call and conference call thing that's become popular, I've had tons of Zoom calls. So in particular with the International Ice Hockey Federation, we've had a lot of conference calls, a lot of meetings, and they have been helping us behind the scenes plan out reintroducing hockey to Algeria and coaching and even stuff like potential plans for a bigger ice rink that we can sort of introduce to the Ministry of Sport or private investors. So there's still quite a lot going on behind the scenes. We do still have quite a lot of work going on our social media and trying to keep people updated and keep things quite interesting. So inshallah, when it all passes over, hopefully in a few months, people have their vaccines and we can start getting things back to normal again.
Thanks, Karim. Samy, de votre point de vue, vous avez mentionné ce désir de continuer à faire grandir le sport, le basketball pour les personnes en fauteuil roulant. Comment la pandémie de la COVID-19 a eu un impact et a eu des conséquences ou vous a forcé à voir les choses autrement ou de replanifier vos activités?
Je vous assure que c'est l'année la plus dure de l'handisport. Vous savez, la pandémie est arrivée et on s'est arrêté au mois de mars en plein championnat. Donc, ça a été très difficile d'une manière générale Bon, on a suivi les conseils de notre ministère des Sports. On n'a pas joué à ce jour, sauf quelques joueurs de l'équipe nationale qui se sont préparés pour préparer le championnat des Jeux olympiques. Donc, c'est une année très difficile. Pas rien que pour nous, mais pour tout le sport mondial, hein, généralement. Mais pour le handisport, on a eu des habitudes et c'est très difficile de redémarrer le sport, le handi-basket. Donc, on essaye de se regrouper de temps en temps sur le plan psychologique, les sensibiliser, tout en espérant on va reprendre peut-être très prochainement avec l'arrivée des vaccins. J'espère que ça va redémarrer, Inch'Allah, on va reprendre nos activités comme d'habitude. Voilà en gros.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have another question that we would like to ask the group before we start taking questions from the audience. The first thing that I would like to ask is how, given the different positions that everyone on the panel has, the different roles that they fill, how do we promote inclusion in sports, and how do you encourage others to embrace the value of teamwork? And I think I will start with I'll start with Al.
Thank you, Lori. For me, it goes back to whether it's at the professional level, like I spoke about on those committees that have been formed at the National Hockey League on diversifying leadership, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it makes sense and to grow the game. But I also use it in the little league on the kids I coach, and stressing the importance of that diverse perspective, right? I hate to break it down like this, but I tell the kids, you can't have all left wingers, right? You need the centerman, you need the right winger, you need the defenseman, you need the goalies. And the same thing is for that perspective in life, that diversity, that whether it's at the little league level or whether it's something that you take away from there and grow into future in life, into your adulthood, that perspective is so important. And I think the sooner we learn it, the sooner we learn that diversity is leadership and that different perspectives are a beautiful thing, the better off we all are.
I absolutely couldn't agree more. I'd like to ask the same question to Karim.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm quite new into sort of my coaching journey, and I've been coaching quite an inner city sort of ice rink in London. So it's very diverse ethnically, with quite a lot of different backgrounds, and we coach the boys and the girls together. So really giving me an opportunity to see the joy it brings to everyone. It sort of transcends everyone. It's not less enjoyable for the girls or less enjoyable for people from backgrounds who aren't traditionally into hockey. The joy of the sport and the benefits that people get from the sport, it transcends everything. And I mean, it's really motivating for me to see what I've done with my coaching in London to what I can introduce into Algeria as well, and do the exact same thing. And I mean, through our social media, our Hockey Algeria social media, quite a lot of the questions from people who are interested in playing the sport are from females. So there is that. I mean, Algerian females do want to try it. They do want to play it, and that's very encouraging for me, because I'm happy to get as many females in as possible, to create a female team at exact same time as we make the male team. And with Algeria being a member of the International Ice Hockey Federation, females can understand that there is a path in ice hockey for them to grow into the sport, to develop in the sport, and a path into international competition, to potentially playing abroad and traveling, just in the same way there is for a man to develop in the sport and to have those opportunities to play in international tournaments and maybe play in leagues abroad.
That's fantastic. That's very, very interesting. That a lot of the boys and girls play together. It sounds like the movie The Mighty Ducks was ahead of its time because they also had some females that played on that team as well.
Exactly.
So I would like to pass that over to Hichem.
Yes, I'll go along with Karim. To be honest, me, and the ESA Academy were all into gender equity, you know, and an experience that I can share with Karim, and you're gonna think it's amazing. I'm new to this environment in terms of going to different region, and we went to a region called Betna. It's in the east. We did a camp there, and me being new, I didn't know the environment, how it's gonna turn out. But at the beginning of camp, you realize that all the boys are excited. They're all on the court, going crazy with the ball, and we realize, especially me, because I'm looking at everything, and I realized the girls were shy in the little spot, talking to each other. And I went to them and I told them, "Hey, go on the court and go play with everyone with ball." And they say, "Oh, yes, you guys gonna do it." So we did 4 days in Betna. And after the first day, I was amazed how much it was everybody on the court. They were all talking to each other, laughing to each other. So we feel like it's so important for the program and for Algeria and for Karim program and everyone that we see a change in terms of how women see the boys play, and they do the same thing. And they realize, because I didn't know, they realize that everybody have a chance. Everybody can go at the highest level, and this is key at the end. You see that kind of perspective of the girls going to play with the boys, and see that everybody's going to have a team and they're all going to play. And at the end of the camp, a mother came to me and said, "We are very happy and thankful for the program to come here. My daughter was every day morning excited to come, and it is special." So we're just not for the program, for every program that comes, it's it's a blessing to see that everybody's happy, girls and boys, and be at the same court and play and have an equal chance in everything they do. So I would say this is key for the future in Algeria.
Absolutely. And you brought up a really good point. Sometimes, especially, for girls, we just need to be invited. We just need to be invited to the table. So you can come out and say, "Hey, get on the court." They're like, "Oh, okay, great. Now I actually do belong here." So at this point, I'll ask Matthew if you can do me a favor and please pose the same question to Sarah and Samy en français, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je vais commencer par Samy. En fait, la question que Laurie posait, c'est comment, en tant que parent, que coach, donc de leader, comment est-ce qu'on peut faire en faisant la promotion de l'inclusion dans les sports, comment est-ce qu'on peut encourager ceux qui pratiquent le sport à vraiment intégrer et apprécier les valeurs de l'esprit d'équipe, de l'effort d'équipe, de collaborer ensemble pour atteindre des projets ou des objectifs.
Et tout ça, ça se travaille, hein? C'est pas comme ça. Vous savez que les handicapés, ils ont une mentalité un peu difficile. Ils se sentent toujours mis à l'écart. Mais nous, avec un travail, on essaie d'intégrer, on leur dit que travailler, il faut faire des résultats pour que les gens vous regardent, que vous aurez une place parmi les élites nationales. Et tout ça, ça travaille, hein. Nous avons un technicien en basket qui fait un travail extraordinaire. La preuve, le handisport, avec tous nos élites, ils sont arrivés à un point au plus haut niveau. On est considéré parmi les 10 meilleurs au monde. C'est grâce à un travail psychologique et un travail et on essaye de les intégrer dans la société. On leur dit que vous êtes des gens normaux. Vous êtes l'espoir de l'Algérie. C'est comme ça qu'on leur dit. Et ils se sentent vraiment, on leur dit, lorsque vous ramenez une médaille, vous honorez votre pays comme invalide, comme on honore son pays. C'est comme ça. C'est un travail vraiment... Et c'est des gens, on leur dit généralement que vous êtes des gens normaux. Un handicapé, ce n'est pas le physique. Pour moi, un handicapé, c'est celui qui est mentalement handicapé. Mais celui qui peut ramener quelque chose, ce n'est pas un handicapé. Voilà en quelque sorte comment on leur explique.
Merci. Sarah, est-ce que vous voulez rajouter quelque chose sur cette question sur le ministère joue un rôle clé et structurant dans le sport en Algérie. Donc, en tant que leader, en tant qu'acteur important, comment est-ce qu'on peut justement encourager les athlètes, les jeunes à vraiment développer cette qualité-là de l'esprit d'équipe, d'apprécier le travail d'équipe afin d'atteindre des objectifs communs?
Vous m'écoutez là?
Oui.
Très bien, très bien. Donc, je peux témoigner. Donc, étant donné athlète, j'ai passé donc ma carrière sportive et là, je suis dans l'administration sportive. Donc, c'est un tremplin. Donc, d'ailleurs, c'est grâce au sport que je suis là. Donc, j'ai eu cet esprit. Je faisais partie d'une équipe, club, puis équipe nationale. Ça me donnait toujours cet esprit de l'équipe, travailler en équipe, même ici maintenant au ministère. Donc, avec les collègues, on travaille toujours en collaboration entre les différentes structures pour atteindre forcément un objectif qui est le développement du sport d'une manière générale. Et pour tout ce qui concerne le sportif, comme vous savez, donc l'État algérien met en place un dispositif juridique qui est déjà mis en place, qui prend en charge le sportif d'élite et de haut niveau, que ce soit en plein de sa carrière ou bien après sa carrière. Donc, le statut de l'athlète d'élite ou de haut niveau qui lui permet une vie après sa carrière et l'intégration sociale. C'est-à-dire, un athlète, après sa carrière sportive, il aura l'opportunité de terminer ses études et se spécialiser ou bien avoir un poste budgétaire. Et c'est un moyen de s'intégrer socialement. Donc, je trouve que c'est bénéfique pour un sportif et c'est bien réfléchi.
Super. Merci beaucoup, Sarah. So we've got our first question from the audience, and it's a question from Nazim Ben. And it's a question, some of your answers I've touched upon it a bit. I mean, I'm thinking Hichem and Karim, but how can sport transform the lives of youth? I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that, you know, it's the Ministry of Youth and Sports. It's quite often you see these linked together, but maybe Al, you've mentioned some, as for you, and, you know, as a kid, how it helps you integrate, you know, into your life. But I mean, do you see the same thing with the youths that you're coaching today, like how it transformed their life? And if you can give us, you know, I mean, a few thoughts on that.
Yeah, for me personally, it gives you that foundation for life, right? If you are fortunate to be put in a situation with a coach that understands these things, what do you learn in sport? Well, the things that I learned were discipline, routine, sportsmanship, empathy, you know, ways to relate to teammates that came from different backgrounds like myself, and being able to connect with those people and encourage them. So those are the things that we try to instill here in USA Hockey. And I think you've seen that product grow and grow and grow based on that foundation. So it does start with the youth, and having that opportunity, like everybody's mentioned, it's that equal access, that accessibility, that it doesn't matter where you come from, what color you are, what language you speak, that this sport or these sports are for you.
Thanks, Al. Hichem, do you want to say a few additional words on that?
Yeah. I mean, he said it all, but I will say it's like he says, the foundation of life. It will change. The youth's life for, first of all, the discipline for sure. Be on time. One of the things that people don't realize, but being on time on everything will get you something positive everywhere. So just being on time for practice, being on time for a game, pre-game, being on time for work. Just this is a positive thing. So sports will just bring you more discipline because you know if you don't come on time, you'll run suicide or you'll do something as a punishment in terms of the court. So I think it's more points out into the effect of discipline. And even if you don't continue on your sports and you go to university, straight up, you will have the discipline of having your calendar and you know what to do every day, and it will get you where you want to be. So yeah, and it will be equal for everyone. Boys and girls is the exact same thing. And yeah, I'm all with El Montayo said. Yeah.
Merci, merci Hichem. Samy, je vais répéter la question en français pour vous parce que je trouve qu'il y a un angle peut-être intéressant là, sur une question qu'on a eue de l'audience sur comment est-ce que le sport peut transformer la vie des jeunes. Je serais curieux d'entendre de votre perspective là, les jeunes qui ont des handicaps moteurs sur comment est-ce que vous voyez là, tous les efforts que vous faites pour promouvoir le sport de votre côté, comment ça change ou comment ça a un impact sur leur vie.
Ah oui, le sport a changé beaucoup la personne handicapée. Nous avons eu des joueurs handicapés illettrés. Ils ne sont jamais partis à l'école, mais grâce au sport, ils sont devenus, par exemple, nous avons un joueur actuellement, il vit en France, il fait les beaux jours du handi-basket français, il s'est marié avec la meilleure joueuse française et il vit une vie très paisible à Cannes. Donc, ma grande satisfaction, c'est cette réussite de ce joueur. Donc, le sport, c'est quelque chose, on dirait une école. Pour moi, le sport, c'est une école. On a des joueurs qui n'ont pas de niveau, mais grâce au sport, ils sont devenus des champions d'Afrique. Notre ministère les a vraiment gâtés avec des grands prix et ils ont pu ouvrir des magasins. Ils ont pu construire leur avenir. En quelque sorte, c'est grâce au basket, au handi-basket, au sport. Voilà. Le sport, pour moi, le sport, c'est le sauveur d'un handicapé.
Merci beaucoup. Karim, anything, you've touched it on your previous intervention about, how your coaching now is having an impact on those kids, from diverse background in the UK. How is that changing and transforming their lives? Do you want to dig down a bit more on your answer?
I mean, everyone summed it up perfectly, pretty much. It has an amazing impact on someone's life. It lasts a lifetime. It can be such a positive impact, and it can last a whole lifetime. And it can have a positive effect on all walks of life, not just in the sport. And I mean, I can see that in myself. So from me playing a team sport from a young age, and it's helped me so much, and it's taken me away from maybe certain negative things in my life that I could have got caught up in, and it's kept me on the right path, and and I'm just trying to pass on to the benefits that I received from team sport.
Thanks, Karim. Et finalement, Sarah, comme j'ai mentionné un peu plus tôt dans ma remarque, c'est sans doute pas un hasard si votre ministère, le ministère pour lequel vous travaillez, c'est le ministère de la Jeunesse et des Sports, mais aussi, vous avez mentionné, vous êtes une ancienne, mais certainement encore aujourd'hui une athlète. Comment est-ce que pour vous et pour les gens avec qui vous travaillez, le sport transforme la jeunesse et leur permettre de s'accomplir, de se développer, de devenir tout ce qu'ils peuvent être?
Bon, le sport déjà c'est un défi. Un sportif, il s'attend à atteindre un objectif, que ce soit sur le plan physique, c'est-à-dire il veut atteindre un certain niveau, ou bien dans le domaine de l'administration, c'est arriver à un certain niveau, réaliser des projets. Par exemple, là, à mon niveau là, mon objectif, c'est d'assurer le maximum de services au profit des sportifs. Là, en ce moment, je suis en charge de tout ce qui est athlète de haut niveau sportif. Donc, il y a les athlètes qui sont en train de venir ici, demander notre avis. On essaie de les orienter pour mieux gérer leur carrière sportive. Étant donné que dernièrement, il y aura un arrêté interministériel qui va permettre à ces sportifs de bénéficier des postes budgétaires. que l'État a mis en place pour ces sportifs. Donc, je suis toujours en contact avec ces sportifs. Je les oriente, on les aide. C'est-à-dire que mon objectif en ce moment-là, c'est-à-dire que je suis athlète. Je me mets à leur position. Donc, c'est-à-dire je sens ce qu'ils ont besoin. Donc, ils ont besoin d'être rassurés pour leur carrière, pour l'après-carrière. Là, donc, mon objectif là, de faire tout mon possible, d'assurer et de régulariser tous les dossiers de ces sportifs. Et aussi, comme vous savez, aussi, le sport donne de l'énergie. Donc, on est athlète, on est en bonne santé. C'est-à-dire, on donne notre touche positive, on sent ça toujours positif.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah. So this concludes our live session. We have to wrap up. We ran out of time, and the fact that we've had a very good discussion and we could go on for a bit longer, but we'll respect the rules. We'll be on time, as Hichem stressed the importance of. So I won't, I've taken the point. The point has been driven home well. I just want to say a big thanks to all our panelists from here, and Laurie, my co-host, here in Algeria, ici en Algérie, in Canada, in the US, and in the UK. Thank you so much for your time. I want to say a big thanks to our audience as well. And we do hope that this conversation continues in your own circle. On espère que le panel ou le sujet de cette conversation va continuer aussi parce que tout le monde a un rôle à jouer dans l'inclusion. And sport is a great way to do it. If kids learn to have fun all together, and it's much easier than later in life. That's my own personal view, but it's much easier for them to deal with life because they will be confronted to diversity and they will have to accept it and live with it and embrace it and benefit from it. So thank you, everyone, and please have a good afternoon.